excited for our guest today. We got Tony Voce. I've been talking about doing some different things, kind of combining the ice and then the off ice. And luckily this summer, we've been able to kind of put it together a little bit, and excited to. Right, it's still going on, but we're excited to get it all together. So it's going to be a really exciting summer for us at the TA Hockey World, and we're excited to have Tony jump on and help us with this. At the same time, I'm excited to have you here, ready to get after it. I think one of the cool things to kind of get into is just kind of, like you had an amazing college career, and then you went to the pros and you lived the pro life, and I think that's where most people kind of get focused in on. But one of the things I think that'd be kind of cool to think about a little bit is, for you, looking back, what are some of your favorite memories as a kid? Favorite rinks, favorite times to train, favorite games that you kind of think back to, like where does your head go?
So yeah, I'm glad to be part of TA and joining the staff here and being the on ice guy is going to be awesome, and having just some of the kids that we've been starting with now, and I'm looking forward to growing that. So that's definitely exciting for us here, I think. As far as the growing up, so I grew up in Northeast Philly. Parents still live in the same house in Philly that I grew up in, which is neat because we get to go back and visit that. So on the hockey side of things, like I was an athlete in the sense of I played soccer, football, baseball, hockey, basketball, which I'm not very good at, but I played them, and I think that's really important for today's athletes, that they don't just stick to hockey or stick to baseball or stick to football. Like the well-rounded athlete can come into the gym and train and get done what they need done more effectively and efficiently than the kid who's a one-sport athlete.
But I think you and I talked about it a couple weeks ago when you were like, what do you think about kids working out at like right now, like from the 2012s, 13s, 14s, and it comes back to that is because everything is so organized and guys are so focused on one sport. Training wise, you can train at those younger ages. It's just different because you're not focused on increasing muscular strength. You're focused on just increasing athleticism. So I think that's kind of touching to what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I think that's a big point of emphasis for, look, we're all in this to play hockey, right? That's why we're training in a hockey gym, that's why we're in the hockey rink, and that's what we do. But to be an athlete and to be able to have good footwork, able to have good hands, it's only going to help you on the ice.
Right.
So for me, that was important. So I got to play these sports, and luckily for me, I went to a prep school, and I was able to play football, hockey, and baseball in prep school all the way up until I went to college, which does not happen as much as it should nowadays.
Right.
Growing up in Philly, like I played at our rink was built, so the Pennsauken rink that everyone knows now is the skate zone, was built as twin rinks. Thunderbirds, right? So the guy who built that coached me from 10 years old to I left when I went to prep school at 15. His name was Bruce Selig. And our team was from all over the place. We had kids from Connecticut, we had kids from the Jersey Shore, we had kids from Delaware, and unlike today's AAA world where there's 7 teams within an hour,
right. Back
then there was not. It was us. We were the Little Flyers playing out of Pennsauken. You had Mercer that played out of Iceland. I don't even think they were out of there then. You still had Valley Forge, who played out of Oaks, and the Junior Flyers, but that was it. There wasn't 7 and I can go to this team and that team. So it was very, I think the hockey back then was probably not as good as it is now, but it also was not as many teams to go to as it is now. But the hockey now is better because of personal training, because of skill set, because of being able to watch TV and see it clearly online, right? These games we're watching in HD,
right.
The kids go on YouTube. So the game has changed a lot from even when I stopped playing, which is 2010. It's only going back 10 years now when I actually stopped, which that's a long time ago. But the game has changed drastically from then to now. Physicality is different. Fighting's not in it anymore. these guys put the puck between their legs. I wouldn't have tried that to save my life. I would have got hurt if I tried that.
Different situation.
Yeah. Now they do it every day. We see it in practice. We see it in games. We see it at the NHL level, at the college level, at the youth level. So, the game has changed. And for me, it was growing up in Philly and playing hockey. It was not. No one knew about college hockey. No one knew about prep school hockey. Like, it was brand new, where everybody knows about it now. Right. Juniors is huge. So that's a big difference from now to back when I did it. Right. My cool story was we lost in the national championship when I was 14 years old. Our Little Flyers team, we lost to the Long Island Gulls. We beat them 10-2 during the regular season, and then we lost 4-3 in the national championship game. And then that team that we were on, we all went away. There was 10 kids that went away to prep school. A couple went to play juniors. And out of that group, we had, I think it was 13 guys that played in some kind of professional hockey, whether it be Europe, East Coast League, Europe, AHL, NHL. So, which is really neat.
That's sick. It's funny because so for me, when I think of I miss old rigs. So to me, winter sport in Willow Grove was my that was like I played for the Winter Sport Royals when I was a little kid, and the smell when you get there at 5 a.m. It's just not the same smell anymore. No. You know what I mean? It's not the same smell.
The rinks are nice. Because I played a face-off, so I was with the Glaciers at face-off, and that's where I started.
That's actually the first time I ever stepped on ice was at face-off.
Yeah. So when I started, I went. I was say 5 years old. My dad took me to the rink and threw some skates on me, and I don't know why, because he was not a hockey guy, but threw skates on me, and I got on the ice and skated forward, and then the lady said turn backwards, and I was able to go backwards, and they were like, what's going on here? That's not normal, I guess you would say. And then I was able to play. So when I was 5 and 6 year old, I just kind of did like in-house stuff, and then when I was 7 years old, I was playing with 10-year-olds.
Right. Wow.
And at the Glaciers, and I was playing with all the older kids, and I was okay, I guess, for back then, but I could just skate, and so that part of hockey hasn't changed. If you can skate and you're fast and you can play the game, and then now it comes into now we have to process with our hockey IQ and all that comes into play when you get to the highest levels.
Right.
But when you're younger, if you can skate, you're probably going to be a good hockey player at the younger age groups. And I could skate, so I was good for that level.
So when did you figure out that this could be something you can actually do as a real thing, for your life? What age was it that you were like, yo, I can this could be my life?
Yeah, so I think, I don't know. Again, it was a lot different, right? There's no social media. When I left Philly to go to prep school, I was 15. I turned 16 my freshman year in high school. So I should be a doctor, but I'm not. I've been in school for that many years, but I'm not. So, no, I think, the reality was for me was I wanted to go to a college and play college hockey. I had no idea. I knew Michigan, right? That's what everyone knows, Michigan hockey, and because we went to see a game in Michigan when I was playing, and that was the coolest thing, And then go to Boston, and all of a sudden you got the Bean Pot. So I'm in Boston as a freshman in high school, and I never heard of the Bean Pot. I didn't even know what it was. So it's Harvard, Northeastern, Boston University, Boston College. So I'm at Boston College. I end up watching this game, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. It's the first 2 Mondays of February every year, and it's sold out. You play in the Boston Garden, TD Garden now, but it was the Boston Garden, so you played in the old school Garden, and then they got the new place, so you're getting 20,000 people to watch you play a game.
D'Angelo said yesterday it's not as loud as anyway.
Oh, Carolina. He was. It's probably not. Carolina's definitely got a building, but when you're
little shout out to Ed.
50, please win.
Right.
When you're 15 years old and you get to see this for the first time, you want to play in Boston. That's where you want to go to school, and so forget Michigan for me now. Now it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I want to play in one of these 4 schools now.
Right.
I'm not smart enough to go to Harvard, but I mean, let's be serious. But I was, luckily for me, I had a good freshman year in prep school, and then after my sophomore year, had a really good year my sophomore year, and I committed to, my verbal commitment to Boston College after my sophomore year in high school, and knowing that, I was going to the school and the Beanpot, and at that time, for Boston College, they weren't really a hockey hotbed, and Mike Motto, Brian Gianta, these got, Mike Motto won the Hobie at BC. He was there before I got there. I got to play with Brian Gianta, who should have won a Hobie. Was an unbelievable player, went on to have a great pro career, won a Stanley, I think 2 Stanley Cups, I think he won with the Devils. But just playing with these guys and seeing how hard they work when you get there, it's like, okay, this is real. This is real. And that was probably the first time when I got to college that I was like, okay, there's a chance that I'm going to make some money in this sport. There's no guarantees, obviously, we all know that, but that was the first realization where I was like, okay, like, there's 7 NHL draft picks on our team. There's first rounders. I think we had 4 first round draft picks on our team. Brooks Orpik, who played, Pittsburgh, won Cups. He was in Washington. Chris Kalanos, Chuck Kobasu, and then my roommates were Ben Eves, who was drafted by Pittsburgh, J.D. Forrest, drafted by Carolina, Justin Jama, drafted by the Devils, and then Ty Hennis, who now is working with the Penguins as their skills coach, and then Brett Peterson, who is now the assistant general manager for the Florida Panthers. So we had a pretty good group of guys.
That sounds like a pretty good
still
group.
Involved in hockey, but all guys that, that's the first time when you realize, like, okay, this is something we can do to make some money,
right?
And enjoy it because it is fun.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's for me growing up through hockey, like I never had the. I know for me, like one of the biggest things was I was just playing hockey because I loved it. There was never a time where I was just like, for some reason I was just thought, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna go. I'm definitely gonna play pro. But like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely going. I'm going. It's 100%.
I got it.
I did. But but as I kind of went through it, it was more that I just loved playing. So it never, so for me, it just, but path, I feel like back then, so for me, it was like the 2000s. There just wasn't as much like advisory director or agents or like basically anyone really like moving you towards, whatever your goal set is towards that. So kind of jumping back for you, you said, you committed to BC. You said sophomore year, right?
Yep.
So like, what was that process like for you? Were you just playing? So you were playing for the Little Flyers, or you were playing?
Nope. So I was just playing prep school. I didn't play any.
Right.
So now the kids play prep school, but they play split season. And I had kids that were at my prep school team that played split season like they do now. I did not. I literally played football during football season, which was the fall. I played hockey in the winter, and I played baseball in the spring. And for 4 years, that's what I did. I played some summer stuff, USA hockey stuff. I did.
Well, so how did you? So how did that? How did BC come knocking at your door? Like, was it just you played hockey and it happened, or like was there someone that that was helping you? Was there? So what was the process for you?
Yep. So unlike, and you just mentioned this, unlike today where you need an advisor or an agent, you need it in today's world because there's so many kids, there's so many teams, there's 5 junior leagues, there's Canadian junior leagues, there's U.S. juniors, there's prep school, so there's really good 16U and 18U programs that are academies like a Shattuck St. Mary's, like a Bishop Kearney, Mount St. Charles, and these academies are now popping up everywhere. So what is the right path? What's the best way to go? And to be honest, there is not one better than the other. It's and this is why you need someone to help you, because when I went through it, I had a coach, Charlie Corey. I talk to this guy to this day. He's 70-some years old. I don't even know how old he is now. He's in the 70s. But he's a guy that he was as hard on me as any coach I've ever had. But I needed that. I was someone who needed to have some kind of toughness and someone to. I didn't mind getting yelled at because I played on the edge. I had to, because that was being 5'8", and back then I was 160 pounds soaking wet, playing against kids who were college prospects. I needed to have a a little bit of nasty. So I did play on the edge, and I probably got some penalties that I shouldn't have taken. But to me, that was what was going to make it. I needed that. So Boston College, we played a Christmas tournament at Lawrence Academy. That's the prep school I was at, Lawrence Academy. And when I was there, my freshman year, our Christmas tournament, we played Cushing Academy. And Cushing right now is still one of the top programs. And Cushing Academy came in, and we played them on a Friday night, and there might have been 500 or 600 people at the game in a frozen outdoor rink.
Wow.
And the top row so if you were sitting on the bench and you looked across, the top row of the stands, which went from goal line to goal line, was NHL scout, college scout, other prep school guys were there, and it was just like with everyone with a clipboard and paper, and you're going, wow. So I've made it this far. Like, I made it. Like, that never happened to me. I never saw that before, where there was just guys with clipboards, and again, Michigan would be there because Cushing had kids that were going to play. We had guys that probably were going to play there, and which Michigan never came to the East Coast. So the fact that they were there is a big thing, because now they don't really, they NTDP type kids, and you saw they had seven first-round draft picks on their team this year, Michigan. But the top schools all get that now. So for me, it was they came to watch me play. I had a good game that year, and then my sophomore year, I had another really good year, and I was a goal scorer, so I think goal scorers are hard to come by. They're tough to find. Who guys can just score goals, and I was lucky enough to be one of those guys. And they came to watch and talked to my coach, Charlie Corey, there, and came to me, and that's how I ended up. I kind of had a pick of the litter, if you would say. I had Boston University, Boston College, Ohio State, Maine. Name a top program in the country. Yeah. I did get a letter from Harvard. Knowing I was going to go there, but I still have it. It's framed. Yeah. Just kidding. But back then, like I saw, so Mike Cavanaugh, who is the head coach at UConn right now, is my assistant at BC, and when we were there, like I was going through, and I'm still friends with Cav today because I'm in that world, and I work as an agent and advisor, and so I'm in that world. I still am friends with these guys, and so I went up to him and I took a screenshot of this handwritten letter he sent me. Handwritten. That's that doesn't happen anymore. Right. But he came to watch me play baseball, not hockey, baseball. He wrote about the baseball game that I played in, and good luck. Hope everything's going well. So I saw it. I took a screenshot of it and I sent it to him. And, we were just cracking the laugh. Yeah, like it's like I don't realize it until my mom kept all the stuff that I throughout college, all the letters that I have, and I have thousands and thousands of letters, which I'm sure doesn't happen today, like back then. Right. Like that different way to scout, different way to recruit, different way to do things now. It's text messages and emails, and it wasn't like that back then. So big difference. Yeah.
No, I think it really is. There's been such a change in just how things are done, but that's the. So you mentioned a couple coaches in there, and you got to give some love to the coaches that kind of groomed you through the whole process. So think of it this way: what would be a coach that you like from a skills standpoint, or what are some of the different guys that today when you're on the ice you try to replicate what you learned from them, and maybe not even replicate, but it's stuck with you?
So I think the game, because of the game changing, the guys who coached me, a couple coaches that come to my mind. So my dad was my first real coach, if you want to say. Like, he might have not been the actual head coach, but he was the one for me that taught me how to, he was an athlete, and he was really a smart, still to this day, he'll tell you, do this, do that. He's got, and his advice was always right, but he was to me, the first real person that taught me, hockey IQ. Now, he didn't know he was doing it, probably. He was just teaching us the way to space the game out. And
Right.
he was teaching us to move the puck from this side of the ice to the weak side of the ice where that was going to be open, and that's going to create space for you. If you watch my dad skate, like, you would laugh because he can't ice skate, but his brain and his knowledge is off the charts. And still to this day, like, he could probably come coach my teams, and just his demeanor on how he taught, you learn, and you learn from that. And then, so take that, and then you got a guy, like I said, I had Bruce Selleck who coached me when I was younger. He was just, he knew a lot he ran Gold's Gym back in the day, and he knew a lot of NHL guys, so like he got his practices from NHL, and then we had a really good team, which helped with then getting the best practices.
Right.
And practice to me was what it was. Like, you had to go, you did it twice a week. It's practices now today are way more detailed because I never had a guy who played at a high level coaching me, and even in just our area, there's a lot of guys around here that have played college hockey that are coaching. And any building you go to, there's a lot of guys that played college that are now coaching, which that did not happen back when I was a lot of parent coaches, people that did, especially in Philly. Like, there wasn't college hockey guys like there is now.
Right.
So, and then I had Charlie Corey in high school, who was a really hard-nosed coach, but he was a hockey guy. Like, he, coached and knew. But again, same thing. He wasn't the best skater. He wasn't the best hockey player. So it was a lot different for them, and it changed. So that's where I really started to like learn about the game itself and playing defensive zone coverage. And not that I was a defensive specialist by any means, because like I said, I was a goal scorer. So I had to learn how to play it, but it wasn't like for me it wasn't my focus. I probably could learn more and still can. And then get to college, and I had Jerry York, who just retired. He was one of the best coaches ever to coach in college hockey. I think he has the most wins ever, so he's the best coach in college hockey. That's who coached me. And his assistants, I had Mike Cavanaugh, who again still friends with today, guy Ron Ralston, Scott Pollock, who's with USA Hockey now and does a lot with USA Hockey, who was the head coach of Bowling Green. So just those minds of teaching you the game, and because they all played at high level, they all knew what was going on, and then you're coaching pretty much the best players in the country. Right. So you just learned, and I took it all in. I didn't, you ask my roommates, like, I wasn't a gym rat. I wasn't the going out there and killing it in practice, because to me, I needed to play in games, and that's what my focus was. And so a regret is that I wish I took practice more seriously. I wish I took the time that we got to spend on the ice and like created better habits, because now I'm learning as a coach, and especially now the game that nowadays it's so fast that if we're not creating these habits to become really good goal scorers, passers, defenders, whatever it is that you do well, learn what it is and perfect it, and then get the other pieces. But if you're a good passer, like, become a really good passer and create that habit of doing it. But I didn't do that. I took some things for granted, obviously, like especially when it came to practice. If I would have done that side of it a little more, I probably would have, played in the NHL and got a game in the NHL. I practiced, but never played in a game in the NHL, which, there's circumstances that were out of my control, and just like anything else, it's a business, so you realize that. But I think going back and looking at it all, like, I wish the gym's way more prevalent in today's athlete than it was. Not saying it wasn't there when I was there, but it's way more prevalent now. And the on-ice habits of learning how to shoot in every different way and off every different foot, and catching passes at different spots. And I think that part of creating the habits is a big piece. And I learned that when I got traded from Philly to Grand Rapids, and Grand Rapids was Detroit Red Wings farm club. Detroit had made the playoffs 22 straight years at that point. I think they're doing something right in the minor league. Like, they're working, and they had these Russian guys that came over and were skilled, and it changed.
The Russian Five,
right? And it changed the game, right? Like, it changed the way that hockey is played when they came over to the United States. And then Detroit stuck that, and with their young kids in their farm system, they learned skills where a lot of these teams are behind. And now you're starting. Now they're, like I said, my roommate from college, Ty Hennis, is with the Penguins as their skills coach. He works with Crosby, Malkin, like Hornquist. They're young guys coming up. Who they got now? Dumoulin and guys like that. So he's working on, and then he goes to the AHL team and works with those guys. And oddly enough, my other college roommate is the head coach of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. So like weird, crazy, but like, you know, two guys that played in college together are now in the same organization, head coach in the AHL and skills coach on the bench for the Penguins in games. You know, it's really cool.
No, that's awesome. Really cool. And I think that's because you shared a lot of great things there. So I think so you kind of mentioned that, like, you know, things that you're taking practice more seriously, and like, you know, adding the gym life into the whole thing, things that can help, you know, the guys of today, where like if you add that into it, it's really going to help, you know, from a not just a hockey specific standpoint, but also just an athleticism standpoint, and just like you said, creating habits where it's subconscious, like you don't have to think about it, it just happens, right? And there's a bunch of different pieces there, but I think on ice, what are some of the things that you see, like the skills, like kids coming up right now, right? Like, what are some of the things that you see that kids really like should be spending more time on, working on, instead of just going down and shooting on the goal, which, don't be wrong,
It helps. I mean, your skating is the number one, has to be your number one focus. If you can't, the biggest problem I see with kids is they can't get on their outside edges. So we skate on our inside edges, and that's fine. But to be really good, you have to be able to shoot the puck,
right,
to be able to make good passes consistently. You have to be able to get on your outside edges and be able to turn quickly. And I think that's the weakest area of hockey players, and that separates like the AAA kid from the AA kid to the A kid to the B kid, is skating, right? Because we could have a kid that's really fast and he skates really fast, but he can't turn. So if we can fix that and help him turn on his outside edges on both ways, not just turning to your left or turning to your right, to be able to turn both ways at the same, that's going to help you just be a hockey player. And then stick handling while skating really fast. Now I got to process two things at the same time. And keep your head up while you're doing it. Right. Good luck with that. And it's hard, and it's not easy, and it takes time to learn it. But if you can figure out how to get on your edges and turn, and look, we do power skating classes, and you know, there's guys on the ice, and say there's 20 kids on the ice, and there's one coach or two coaches. Like, it's hard to correct, and same thing when you're coaching teams. Like, it's hard to fix individual kids' mistakes when you're coaching a group of kids or a team or things like that. It's easier to coach and fix those things in groups of, you know, 8 to 12 kids. You can then kind of bring a kid aside and help him get into that. You know, the private lesson industry and the small group lesson industry, which was unheard of when I played. I never took a lesson in my life. Like, I didn't even know. First off, we couldn't afford it, but second off, it wasn't around. But now, every kid does it, and it's almost like you have to do it. Right. Because if you're not, every other kid is getting it done. And because our individual skills makes us a better hockey player and helps us in a game situation, we need to really perfect those skills. Right. Stick handling, shooting, passing, skating. You know, those 4 big keys of hockey come into play. And if we lack at one of them, we're not going to get noticed by the scout that's watching. Right. And I think the kids don't understand is that there's so many people that are involved in hockey now that work at high levels who have kids that play hockey. Right. You never know who's at a game. Right. Like, and we're playing down here, and you know, you got the Northeastern head coach is at the event because his kid plays. Yeah. You know, like, so, you know, Rand Pecknell, that Quinnipiac was kid played it on mid Fairfield, and he'd be at games. And I'm like, I didn't know who he was at the time, so I was like, oh, that's so and so. I was like, oh, that's really cool. He's at the game, but I feel like that's the biggest difference now. Like, guys just pop in rinks just because their nephew, their niece, their nephew. Girls hockey's growing because girls hockey's huge right now, and it's only growing. And we're finding it in our building. Like, look at we got the Bells, we got Little Flyers that have, Junior Flyers that have a great girls program. They're nationally ranked every year. So, you're getting these programs, and it's awesome to see. I have 3 daughters, so like to me, like they don't play hockey. My oldest might start playing, but just to know that is an opportunity for them now. That's a big piece, and you see them getting into the gym and working out. So, because they want to have an opportunity to play college hockey,
right?
Which is it's really cool.
Yeah. No, that's. I think that's some of the stuff that what would you say is a good way for guys? Because you talk about like some of the stuff you're talking about right now. It seems like I can skate and stick handle. I can do my out action, right? Until you are put right in front, right? Because it happens to me all the time when I talk to people about from a training standpoint. I'm like, well, when you're squatting, probably no, I'm a great squatter. Okay, let's assess that real quick. So, like, what would is there something? So here's the thing. So guys, by the way, we're gonna have a lot of skills videos that are going to be coming out on YouTube on the Training Aspects Performance page. So you'll be able to kind of see some of the stuff that we're talking about here. You'll be able to follow up on that. But is there certain things that guys can kind of realize that they're not doing it coming from this? Like, is there like on the outside edges or whatever? Like, what's a way to find out that
I think the best way is to have someone evaluate you. Whether it be through a video, sending it to a skating coach or a skills coach. I same thing. I have parents tell me all the time, "Oh, my kid's a good skater. My kid's a great skater." And then he comes out and skates, and he straight away speed. He looks great.
Right.
As soon as we have him turn with the puck on a stick, the puck's going down the ice, and he can't get on. And I'm looking at the parent that just told me how good of a skater their kid was, and then their eyes go, "Oh, well, maybe there's not something we're missing."
Right.
Because again, parents probably haven't played at a high level and probably see other kids that their kids on the team with, and he might be the best kid on that team.
Right.
But when you put it together and you're actually watching and someone who knows what's going on, like they might need to work on their skating a little more than that parent thought or that kid thought. And trust me, skating is not fun to work on. It's boring. You don't touch a puck. But if you don't know how to do it, you're not going to be a good hockey player.
Right.
So I get that all the time. Oh, actually, I'm not where I should be. Right. I can get better in that area. It's same thing with shooting. My kid scores goals.
Right.
Just because you score goals does not mean you know how to shoot the puck properly.
Right.
Just because you can skate by everybody and flip it over a goalie at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, that doesn't mean that you're a good shooter and that it's going to get to where you're playing AAA at, when you're 12 years old and all of a sudden you're not scoring anymore.
Right.
You can't figure out why. It's like, well, because you never actually worked on your shot. Just because you scored, again, flipping the puck over goalies, but you never learned how to shoot off the right leg. You never learned how to transfer your weight. You never learned how to pull pucks around defensemen to shoot. Like all these little details that we're teaching now at the older age groups that I'm now trying to teach the young kids too. Right. Like taking the knowledge that I learned, and I was a goal scorer when I got to pro. John Slaney, who was the defenseman, he's the AHL all-time leading points defenseman. Passed me a puck on the back door. Now again, I'm a goal scorer. I'm there because I can score, and he's like, "You don't know how to shoot the puck." So how do you not know how to take a one-timer? I'm like, I never had to.
Right.
I never had to really, and I never practiced it.
Right.
I didn't create the habit of learning how to shoot a one-timer. So what did I do? I sat with him. He passed me puck after puck after puck in every different spot of the ice Well, then I went back and we watched video of how to shoot a puck. Like I watched video and he laughed at me and he was like, "Hey, you gotta figure this out, kid. If you want to score more goals, you gotta learn how to shoot a one-timer.
Right.
Like you're in the professional ranks. Like this is what guys do. Now we're teaching it. I'm teaching 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds how to just catch and shoot a puck quickly instead of stick handling it, instead of anything else. Because again, as we get older, goalies get bigger. Goalies take up more room. They're more agile. They're more skilled. So they're gonna save more pucks just because of that. And the equipment is a lot better for shooters and for goalies. Everything's better, lighter, faster. The sticks are $320, which is crazy, but there's a reason they're $320 because they flex in your shots like as hard as it can be, and you don't even have to move your hands anymore. As long as you have, the right form, it's gonna work. So teaching the form to little kids is really important to me because that's gonna then relate to when they actually have to play at a level where it's like, oh man, I have to make a decision. I have to do this, and I already know how to shoot the puck. So it helps. It helps a lot actually.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I always look at anytime I see a stick break on the ice, I always look at the pair and I'm just like, ooh, that hurt.
The face. You see it break, you're just like
every time.
That's $300 more.
There it is. I just bought that yesterday. All right.
It happens way too often. And they break so easy. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Because they're made the way they're made, but they're good. They help kids score. They help your shot. They definitely break a lot though. That's for sure. Easily break a lot.
No, so I'm so happy we got to do this, and we're gonna have some more videos coming up anyway. But there's the summer program with us, so it's gonna be the on ice and off ice piece. It's actually starting next week. So we've already been doing some work back and forth, but a lot of the guys are back now. So if you are looking to do it, make sure you jump on quick because we're running out of space.
Quickly.
And
it's awesome. It'll be fun.
Yeah.